Hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Who is here? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Getting my timer on. All right. Hi, Joanne. Good morning. Nice to have you. Carolyn, good morning. Nancy, Lynn, and Dave, Michael, Lauren, and probably Steve. Good morning. Before I go any farther, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, if you could look below where it says subscribe, please do so. I'm going to go to Spain and England and Scotland in a month. And if I have 1,000 subscribers, I can shoot a class from my phone. So that's my goal, is to get that up so that I can do that when I'm gone. Anyway, I'd love to hear from any of you if anything's going on with you in particular. I would like to hear about it. And I did have a focus for today's practice. I really wanted to focus on stretching, and I want to say a couple of things about that. Usually when I do a class where I do a lot of stretching, people will always comment like, oh, that was so great, or the stretching was so great. So it does seem to be something that people enjoy. But I also want to say that one thing about stretching is that if you have issues in your body, and especially if you have tightness or tension like low back, chronic low back, or maybe you've had low back off and on throughout your life, or you've had stuff to deal with, that sometimes when we do stretch, you've got to be careful because you don't want to go beyond, you don't want to poke the monster. So sometimes the body gets really protective and it keeps you in this one place. And then when you start to stretch and expand the perimeter, the boundaries, it can actually be that there could be a little bit of a reaction by the body, like a little seizing up of muscles. So really important. Hopefully we'll go slow enough that that is what happens for you. Oh, really? No sound? Does anybody else have issues with sound? I'm talking. So let me know if you have sound. I mean, I see here that it's all the way up. So let me know if there's anything going on there. Okay, you have sound. Yeah, you know, it's really, okay, perfect. Hi, Jane. Okay, you know, I think it says Jane. Yeah, all right. Right? Does it? I don't have glasses. Or June? June. You know what, Lynn? Somebody else had that issue, and I know sometimes you and Dave watch from your TV, so I don't know if that's the issue. But I will say that in this week, there's been 1 or 2 more people that said that, yet others hear me. So I don't know actually what the deal is. So, Stan, good morning, Stan. Nice to have you. I know that there's more of you here than I actually see in my people account. So I don't know what that means. Got to ask the technical wizards. All right, so I'm going to come back here. Okay. All right. So for today's practice, there are some props I would like you to have. Now, I will start with these props. You don't necessarily have to, but it's actually nice for me to show you different things to do because they all have a different intention, a different part of the body they're releasing or stretching. And so I'm going to use a bolster today because I have a bolster. And this could be a couple of rolled up blankets, or a pretty big, sturdy rolled up blanket, or a couple of pillows. I'm going to begin with an elevated position today for my body. And so for some people, going all the way down onto their backs right away is not comfortable. It's not comfortable physically, but it also may not be comfortable in terms of that part of you that protects yourself. So either mentally or emotionally, or your nervous system's response, especially if you're someone that's always on high alert or always in a protection mode for whatever reason, right? So this practice of yoga is about our entire mind-body complex. It's about our mind, our body, our soul. It's us as energetic beings. It's not just a physical practice. Yet we use this physical practice to unblock and to maybe harmonize the body and the mind, or to balance mental energy. So when we come down into this first position I'm going to come into, it's going to be a entryway down to the ground. Because the flatter you put your body, the easier it is for the relaxation response to be stimulated. And then it's also easier for us to do some of the deeper stretches when we're on the ground. So which is what we're going to do today. Focusing on stretching the body, stretching your body glove, what you live in, and being careful to not go too crazy. All right. So a strap for today's practice, please, or a belt or something like that, a block for the practice, a bolster or blankets or pillows or something like that, and a blanket as well. I'm going to elevate my bolster. And if you were using blankets or pillows or whatever, you could put pillows or blankets and then put another one across. The one here is to really support the shoulder girdle, because weight-wise, there's a lot of bones here, right? Shoulder blades, clavicle bones, shoulder joint. So this is to support the spine, and then that's really going to support your shoulders. For some of you, having a blanket behind your head may be another thing that helps to fill in the space at the head, or you may want to put a blanket on your mat. And I don't know what it is, but there is something about putting a blanket on the mat that is super nice. And so if you have one blanket, that's great. If you actually could get 2 blankets, I would really love it if you could get another blanket for today's practice. Because when we do our stretching on the ground, I'd like us to be able to put our blanket on our mat. And that can be something, like I said, I don't know what it is, but there is something so like self-soothing about it. So go ahead and grab another blanket. I'm going to get another blanket. And so your other blanket could be used for right now. So maybe you have this and you want to put something up at your head, or you could put it off to the side. Or another really nice thing is to put a blanket over your belly, so that when you're doing your breath, you have this reference. When we're trying to direct the breath deep down into the belly area, you have a reference for that. All right. So coming to whatever it is you have, whatever you've created, blankets, pillows, whatever it is. I just want to say something here about those with osteoporosis. Being careful to not collapse the front of your spine is important all day, every day, to not do that. So if you are going to come down this way, it's with a lifted spine that you come backwards if that's safe for your body. And then adjusting yourself appropriately when you get here. It's always a good idea to start off with bent knees so that you allow the pelvis to be free. And then you come all the way back. Your shoulder girdle area is where it is being supported behind you. And then your head, whatever it needs. And then if you do have another blanket, you could bring the other blanket onto your belly if you'd like for a reference point. You could explore taking your legs straight to see how that feels. And if it's chilly where you are at all, you could even cover yourself with a blanket. And then arrange your head so that the middle of the head touches the bolster or the pillows. The nose is pointing a little bit away from you on an angle. So not necessarily, don't be like this. Don't really want to really lengthen the neck here. And then your arms go out to the side. When you get yourself into your position, close your eyes. And start to notice what you notice. like you to be a witness of your body right now, as if you're standing outside of yourself, looking down and noticing any areas of tightness, of tension. Notice what it feels like to be in this position, to have your eyes closed. Allow your back teeth to separate. Breathing in and out through your nose. See if you can notice if one side of your nostrils is taking in most of the breath. Or do you feel both sides? Bring your awareness to your chest. Feel your chest rise and fall with breath. Notice if you're breathing to both lungs, both sides of your body. And bring your breath to your lower ribs. And visualize that you have an inner tube all the way around your body. And there's an inch space, the front, sides, and the back. And as you breathe in, your body expands to the inner tube. You feel the tension as it hugs you. Front, back, and sides. And as you exhale, you feel a release back to center. Expanding all around the lower ribs, forward, backward, and sideways. As you expand and you expand your lower ribs, begin to draw the breath a little deeper, the awareness deeper to the belly. And as you breathe down, feel the front, the back, and the sides of your lower abdominal area expand. See if you could feel the pressure coming all the way down to the base of the spine, the sacrum that's embedded in the pelvis. And then begin to breathe all the way down to your feet. So you breathe to your pelvis and then feel the weight, the breath still going down, down, down to your feet. Bring your feet into your mind. Bring the awareness of the feet as if you guide the breath all the way down to the feet. Follow the pathway of breath in the nostrils. Keep the mouth closed. Down to your feet. And let the breath leave from the feet all the way up your body, out of your nostrils. Take one more breath. Give the breath back to your body. Bringing awareness to your fingers and your toes as you wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. If you have anything on your belly, take it off to the side. And then begin to bend your knees, put your feet flat on the floor or on your blanket. Bring your knees a little wider, knees together, feet are wider than the body. Little relaxation for low back and for hips. Take an exhale and an inhale. And on your next exhale, let your head move towards one direction. Inhale back to center. Exhale, head in the other direction. Inhale back to center. You exhale to relax and release the muscles of the upper back and neck. You inhale back to center and exhale to relax the muscles of the upper back, neck. Close your eyes. Notice if both sides seem the same. Notice what you notice. And feel what you feel. Finishing your last movement to each side. Coming back to center. Take your arms out to the side, and depending on how elevated your body is, we're going to do like snow angels in the air here. So make sure your back neck is nice and long. You exhale when your arms come down to your waist. You inhale when your arms come up overhead. If you could let your fingers touch, try that. Exhale down to the waist. Really stretch the arms, the shoulders. A lot of tension gets created in this part of our body from our daily lifestyle habits. Whatever they are, many of them, most of them are forward. So the shoulder gets really tight and the under armpit area. So this is a nice therapeutic movement to open up your shoulders. Of course, unless you have issues in your tissues and you need to be careful with overstretching your shoulder joint, especially if you have any tears. So pay attention and do what's appropriate for your body. You exhale to come down to your waist. You inhale overhead. And then bring yourself down. Let your arms go out to the side wherever they go so that you feel the biggest stretch in your arms, your chest, your shoulders. And then bring the feet a little wider than your body and begin to do a little side to side movement here. Keep your tushy cheeks on the ground. So the tushy stays on the ground. The tushy does not rock side to side. We're not going into the low back here. I want you to stay very central, very localized to the hip joint, internal, external rotation. Not a very big movement. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees go out to the side. And notice here how your body feels. You may need to take your feet a little wider, or a little farther away from you, or you could try to bring them closer. See what's appropriate for you. Then really push your legs together. So push the soles of the feet together. That'll help to activate some of the support muscles. Then bring your awareness to your core. Push your belly button to your spine towards the bolster or whatever your body's resting on. Deep stretch of the internal aspect of your legs, the adductors, the muscles that bring the legs together. And then let's see what happens if you slide your feet away. See how that feels, moves to a different muscle group, different area. So pay attention to what's feeling appropriate for you. I'd like to do a little pelvic floor awareness here. This seems to be a really great way to actually feel a lift and a movement of the pelvic floor. So the pelvic floor is the base of your torso, and it supports the weight of everything in your torso against gravity. And as we age, when we leave our 30s or 40s, we have muscular degeneration called sarcopenia. And the pelvic floor is made of muscles. It's muscular. So we want to actually maintain the integrity of all of our muscles in our body. So let's bring our awareness to that pelvic floor. Legs are open. And of course, if this does not feel appropriate to you, you could have your legs closed, feet a little wider than the body, knees falling in towards each other. So choose the body position that's appropriate for your body. And then bring your awareness to the base of your body. There's muscles that go from side to side and front to back. It's like two hammocks of muscles, makes up the lower diaphragm of the body. So in the practice of yoga, we practice this at the end of the exhale. So at the end of your exhale, you hold out your breath and you gather your pelvic floor and you lift up for as long as you could hold out your exhale, and then you release on the inhale. So we're going to retain the hold of the pelvic floor at the end of our exhale. So we'll inhale, then we'll exhale, then we'll activate pelvic floor. Inhale, exhale, activate pelvic floor. So it'll feel like kind of like you're making a fist and then an upward movement or a lift. The visuals I like to give here are either you imagine you're drawing an egg into your body, and that'll get you to really engage the pelvic floor and lift upwards. Or you could visualize a strand of pearls that you hold on to deep inside your body in the front part of your spine. You hold on to the first pearl and you draw up, 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 up. And you'll feel a contract and a lift that happens inside your body. So let your arms be down by the sides. Let's take a breath to exhale, then inhale. Exhale and add a retention. So activate pelvic floor. When you cannot hold your breath out any longer, take an inhale and an exhale and then retain your pelvic floor. Contract your muscles. So continue to do 5 of those. Wherever you are, finish your last one. While you're here, to make sure that you're activating the correct area of the body, the urethra where you urinate is in the front of your body, and it's a sphincter muscle. And you can see now, if you're able to actually feel yourself activating your sphincter muscle of your urethra. And then the anus is also a sphincter muscle. So you could see here, if you could activate the anus. And then the awareness for pelvic floor is in between those two. So the very center of the bottom of the body. It's a contract and an activation. And then go ahead and bring your legs up. Let's bring ourselves onto our side, either all the way onto the ground or staying up on your prop that you have, whatever it is. Then opening up your hand pretty wide on the floor. Let your hands do the work here. Do not lift your head up. Let your shoulder rise before your head does, so that you maintain the pushing muscles of the upper body and you don't lose that. Right? So my goal is to teach you to use it so you don't lose it, because when you end up at the lose it place, it's hard to regain. It's always better to not lose than it is to lose and try to regain it. There should be a saying, that better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. There should be a saying for this. It's better to whatever. So really, we have to use it so we don't lose it. And so pushing with our pushing muscles is really important, and to be in the present moment always on how can I maintain this form that I'm living in, this package that I'm living in. Because if it breaks, it affects what happens up here. And I know that firsthand, which is why I do what I do, because I don't want that to happen to you. All right, so let's take the blanket. I just want to say a little bit more about that. I work with people all the time, and I see people in the stages of losing it. I see them in the stage of lost it. And there's limitations when you've lost it. There's limitations when you're losing it. And so we always want to maintain what we can so we don't get there, because then it's a slower, you can't do this because something is happening in the spine or something like that. So that's why I'm really into the whole every day, all day, practicing yoga and awareness. So I'd also like to say one more thing about the breath we just did, the very focused awareness breath. The nostrils, we switch nostrils every 1.5 hours. And a really great thing to do is at night, notice, or in the morning when you wake up, notice which nostril you're breathing out of. So for me, I'm always breathing out of my right nostril whenever I wake up in the morning, which makes sense because that's my logical side brain. Cortisol is secreting. My brain is going into, okay, time to get up and carpe diem. And if you lie on the side, if you don't want that nostril, if you lie on the side of the nostril that you're using, you'll actually shift your breath to come out of the opposite nostril. So the mornings that I want to lie in and not get up right away, I'll roll onto my right side and I'll start breathing out my left nostril and trying to calm down that side of my brain to say, no, let's stay here. It's so comfortable. I learned that from my teacher in India, whose father was a physician. So there's science to back what I'm saying. I'm not just talking hokey pokey. All right. Let's get your blanket and roll your blanket out. Put your blanket out on top of your mat. So we're going to do a little slipping and sliding on our mat today. And so I'd like you to have a blanket on your mat, and then we'll have the other blanket that's going to be used as well. So go ahead, make sure that you have 2 blankets. And for me, it really stimulates right away something super soothic and calming to me. And so I'd like us to crawl around the blanket once you have yours established, crawling, and keep your head up and actually even look farther ahead than you usually do. And you may even feel this all the way down into your belly. Lifting your head is a lot of work for your spine and your back muscles. So lift your head up and then put your head into a neutral so that your tip of your nose is pointing straight down to the ground. Try to have your hands right underneath your shoulders because we need to strengthen our wrists. And if it's too uncomfortable, you can walk with your hands out to the side or a little farther forward. Really settling all the joints or most of the joints in the body as we crawl. And then bring yourself to the middle. Go ahead and take your blanket. Bring your blanket into a fold. So this is to protect the knees. And for those of you that have knee issues, you could actually use a few blankets maybe. So we're going to come onto the mat that's underneath the blanket. Take your knees really wide, take your arms really wide, and start to move yourself around in your body, whatever way feels good for you. Do any movements. You can move side to side. You could move forward and back. You could try a diagonal back to one corner, up to one hand, hip to hand. And lubricate your shoulders, lubricate your hips. You could go around in circles. Try to see what feels appropriate. Where do you have stickiness? Where can you dislodge tightness or tension in your body? And then bring yourself back to center. Let's take the knees wide. Take the hands forward, really, really forward. Keep your head up. Push your heart towards the floor. So this is a forward fold, and if you have osteoporosis, making sure the front of your spine is nice and open. You're bending deeply in the hip joint. If you could bring your head down towards the ground, bring your head down towards the ground. If not, you could get a block to put your head on. But the goal here is to try to get straight arms, and that's where I noticed that the limitations for some is the straight arms. So take your arms farther away from you or wider. And the real key is this. Your tushy is not right above your knees. Your tushy has moved back, and the tushy is near the center of your calves towards your ankles. You're really deeply bending your hip joint. So even knee issues can get away with this one. Let your forehead rest on the ground. Then you're going to take your hands and walk your hands over to the right. Walk the hands over to the right. When you get to the right, straighten the left arm. Walk the left arm as far right as you can. And then rest your head on top of that left arm and push your left hip to the left. Really deepen the stretch along the left side body. A nice deep lateral chain stretch. See if you can feel that all the way down to your pelvis. Point your tailbone back towards the wall behind you. Push your heart forward. Lengthen your spine, stretch your side body. And then walk yourself now over to the left. Let the right hand go as far away as it will. Keep the right arm straight. Rest the head on top of the right arm and push the right hip to the right. Feel that deep stretch on the right side of your body. Take one more breath. And then walk. And then bring yourself up. I want to stretch the wrists. So you can either do this weighted, where you have your palms down to the ground, fingers are back towards your knees, and you rock your body back a little. You'll get a deep stretch in your wrist. Or if that's too uncomfortable, you can come up, take your arm across your body, and bend your wrist under like this, and feel that stretch on the inner forearm, the wrist. And it's also important that we make ourselves bendable and not breakable. We want to be able to receive stress of pressure of bending our joints. And so if you're in a situation where you're slipping, tripping, or falling, that's a quick response and a bending of a joint, maybe beyond its range of motion or normal range of motion. So we want to keep our joints and our range of motion nice and limber, because that is going to help prevent fractures from muscles pulling on bones and creating stress fractures. Then you're going to take your hands, you're going to flip your hands under so that the backs of the hands are on the ground. The fingers are pointing towards your toes. And as you move backwards, you'll feel the stretch on the top part of the forearm. And if you're doing that up here, you take your arm across your body, you bend your arm and wrist, and push your hand, not your fingers, hand towards your body. So some areas of our body don't necessarily get attention unless we direct the attention there. And this is one of them, the wrists. And then let's bring yourself up onto a pentapod, I call it, because it's 5 fingers. So bring yourself up onto 5 fingers. Take your knees away from you. Take your hands forward and backwards. I want to strengthen the hands, strengthen the fingers, because grip strength is related to fractures, and we lose our strength in our fingers, and there's very few ways that we strengthen our grip or our hands or our fingers. So here we're going to weight bear on our fingers, something we don't do very often. And then bring yourself back. Bring yourself all the way up. You could be up here, or you could add a little stretch of the feet by flipping the toes under and sitting on top of the heels. And if you do that, depending on how it feels for you, because for some people this is not doable or very excruciating. If you're feeling okay, you could come into a flexion, tilting your pelvis backwards, bringing your weight back, and go on a little deeper. And then try to squeeze your ankles together so you're really stretching your feet. Again, trying to minimize the potential future of stress fractures by having tight body. You want a limber body so that you can receive any kind of misstep or anything that happens. Moving your fingers, moving the joints, take the tension out. Now bend your hands and roll your wrists. Really stretch those wrists in one direction and then in the other. And then let's go ahead, and for those of you that would like a little balance and a little bit here, you come up onto your toes, keeping your legs pretty close together. You can take your arms out to the side and challenge yourself, or if it's pretty challenging to begin with, if you put the hands together, you actually fire up the sensory part of the brain, and this gives you a little bit more focus. So for balance training, coming up onto your feet like this, you'll feel a lot of shaking and a lot of communication of your proprioceptive nervous system, trying to figure out where the heck you are and what are you doing. And then go ahead and bring yourself down. That's also a way to strengthen the feet. So we strengthened our hands today, and we strengthened our feet if you were able to do those with me. Take your blanket up to the top of your mat or to the top of the blanket that you have here. And then we're going to come onto our side, reaching yourself down onto the blanket. Make sure that the blanket's underneath the head. Take your arms nice and long. Take your legs nice and long. And then if you can, flex your wrists, flex your ankles. Reach your hands away, reach your feet away. Feel a stretch here deep in the belly, maybe right around the pelvic area or the lower ribs. Really stretch. Push your heart up towards the sky. You'll feel a nice deep stretch. Take one more breath. And then keep your arms overhead. Walk your feet to the left. Walk the feet to the left. Take the right leg over the left leg. So the ankles are crisscrossing over each other. Try to keep the legs relatively straight. And then take the left hand to hold on to the right wrist. So this is called Bananasana. So it's not really a Sanskrit term. It's a banana pose. You want your body to look like the shape of a banana. So your legs are to the left, and now you're going to draw your right arm up and over to the left. Keep your arms really close to the ground. Don't bring rotation or any rolling into your body. You're trying to stretch the right side as long as you can, from the heel of the foot to the heel of the hand. Take one more breath. And you bring yourself back to center. Take that leg off. Bring the left leg over. Bring the right leg to the right. Left leg over the right. And then take hold of the left wrist with the right hand. Reach that arm up and then bend over, still keeping your whole body on the ground. From the left heel to the left heel of the hand, heel to heel. I definitely feel most of this stretch. Well, I feel it in my armpit. I also feel it deep in my belly as I'm pulling my rib cage away from my pelvis, especially on that left side. Take one more breath. And then go ahead, bring yourself back to center. Let's push your feet into the floor, lift your pelvis up, and put your pelvis back down, coming into whatever is your neutral. And then let's draw the knees into the chest in case anything happened to the low back. So a little reset is knees to chest, because depending on what you're stretching, depending on what issues you have in your body, and depending on what protection you have in your tissues, sometimes when you stretch things, you might actually poke the monster. If you have chronic low back issues and you're the set point of protection in your low back, whenever you move off center of that, your body might respond and think that it's in danger and go into a contracted state. So this is a set point here or here. Happy baby can be a nice relief for a lot as well. These are legs are stretched and you rock side to side. You could hold on to your toes for those of you that are limber enough to do that. Not all are, and it's okay if you're not. And if you do hold on to your toes, pointer and middle finger goes in between big toe, second toe. Put your thumbs on top of your toenails and then draw your legs deep down towards your shoulders and rock side to side. This gives a little bit more pressure into the low back area, a little more flexion into the lower lumbar, and can be relieving for many. And of course, if anything's not good for you, then you don't do it. And then let's go ahead, take our legs down. Let's grab our strap and do some stretching of the legs. So we are going to stretch the legs. And for those of you that are tight, you know who you are. Fold your blanket a lot, because if you take the pressure out of this part of your upper spine, you'll be able to get more range of motion in the lower. So if you do have a lot of tightness in the lower body, be okay with folding your blanket a little bit more. It'll be nicer for you. Let's take the right leg in, put the strap on the right foot, and actually make sure you can touch your right toes. So I don't want you to lasso this. We're not going to let go of function and just start doing things. No, I want you to bend your hip and bend your knee. Bend your hip, bend your knee. Draw your foot in and get as close as you could get. If you need to lasso the last few inches, as long as you do your best to try to get as close as possible. And then you're going to bring the leg up towards the sky. Wrap your hands around the strap. We're going to stretch the 3 different muscle groups of the hamstrings. There's 3 muscles, one in the center, one in the outside, and one in the inside. So you're going to, the left leg could be straight or bent. It's up to you depending on what you'd like. Straight leg's going to be a little bit deeper stretch, a little pelvic stability comes in there. So you do what's appropriate for you. Pull the strap down, really deeply root that leg in the socket, and then draw the leg straight back. So your kneecap will be pointing straight back towards the wall behind you. Your toes are pointing straight back. So make sure you have that alignment in your leg. Toes are back, kneecap is back. Draw the leg back so you feel a pretty strong stretch behind the middle of the thigh. And then create as big of a right waist as you can. So see if your body was shriveling on your right waist, and push the top of your pelvis with your awareness. Go inside your body, push the top pelvis away from you at the same time as you draw the leg towards the wall behind you. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Take the strap now in the right hand. This is the right leg you're stretching. Take the strap in the right hand, wrap your hand around it. Bring the right leg out to the side about 6 inches or a foot, depending on what your core will allow. If you start to feel your body flying off the ground, don't go so far. And then you're going to draw the legs straight back towards the wall behind you. Toes are pointing back, kneecap is pointing back. So for those of you that have chronic low back pain, you want to make sure you have limber hamstrings. If this muscle group is tight, it's attached to the pelvis, it'll pull on the pelvis and it'll affect your low back. So hamstring stretch is a nice way to keep and maintain a healthy back. One more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Take the strap now into the left hand, the right leg, left hand. And you're going to point the toe over a little bit. So internal rotation, the kneecap points towards the left shoulder and the toes point towards the left shoulder. And then move the leg over a tiny bit. And then you're going to draw the leg back to the place where you feel the appropriate tension in the back of your leg. What's happening to the right waist? Make sure it's nice and long. Press your tushy cheeks into the ground. Press the opposite leg into the ground, whether it's the foot on the floor or the leg is straight. That'll help give you a little bit of activity here. Take one more breath. And then go ahead, bend your leg, bend your other knee. If your leg is straight, take the strap off. Draw in the left leg now. Left leg, so bend the hip, bend the knee, and then bring the foot up. Come as close as you could get, put the strap around it. Take your hands down the strap, wrap around. Deeply root that leg in the socket. Really pull down and feel that pressure of that buttock towards the ground. And then straighten the right leg if you're going to, or keep that knee bent. Begin to draw that leg back towards the wall behind you. Kneecap and toes are pointing backwards. One more breath. And then bring yourself back to neutral. Take the strap into the left hand, left leg, left hand. Let your leg go out to the side, about 6 inches to a foot. Pay attention to what happens to your torso, to your opposite buttock. That needs to be on the ground. And then draw that leg directly back towards the wall behind you. Find length in your waist. Push the opposite leg into the ground. That'll help to balance. Nice long waist. One more breath. And then bring your leg back up to center. Take your strap in your hand. Let's move the toes a little bit towards the right shoulder. Kneecaps pointing towards the right shoulder. Strap is in the right hand. And then draw the leg straight back towards the wall, or towards the wall behind you, or towards that right shoulder. Don't have to move really big here to feel a pretty deep stretch. Take one more breath. Bringing yourself back to center. Let's keep this leg in the air. Keep the strap here. Let's take the strap up high so it's near the widest part of your foot. Wrap your hand around the strap. And the kneecap and the toes are pointing straight directly back behind you. Bend your knee. Pull down with the strap. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, straighten your leg. Feel a super strong, deep calf stretch. Inhale to bend. Exhale to straighten. Inhale, bend. Exhale, straighten. 2 more. Stay here. Pull the strap down. Stay here for a breath. And then release. Take the strap to the arch. Move it over to the arch. And if you'd like to move the strap back a little, especially if you have a strap, you can move that back. Feel that warmth coming into your foot. And then bring the strap to the center. Your kneecap points backwards. Your toes are going to tilt. Your kneecap and your leg are going to stay stationary. You're going to move your ankle joint. So first, the left leg is the one that's in the air. First, you're going to pull on the strap of the right hand, and just let your foot bend to the right. Go slow. Don't let your kneecap move. Don't let your foot move. You're stretching your ankle joint. And then bring yourself back up to center. Pull on the strap in the left hand. You're going to feel the inner leg stretch, and you won't have a big range of motion, and you may feel this translate down your leg. I just felt it translate down my leg to my buttock. You're going to pull on the right hand, feel the stretch in the ankle joint and maybe down the side of the leg. And then you're going to pull the strap in the left hand. Keep your kneecap stable. Look at your leg. You're not moving your leg. You're only moving the ankle joint. We want that range of motion in the ankle joint in case you slip, trip, stumble, so that your ankle joint receives the stress of that slip, trip, or fumble and doesn't pull on the bones and fracture the bones or overstretch the ligaments or tear the tendon. Really important that we keep the dancing ability of the ankle joint. Keeping your ankle dancing always is a goal. And then back to center. Let's take the right leg, bend the right leg, bring the strap off the foot, bring the right leg in, always moving our joints whenever we can here, the hip and the hip and the knee are moving. So bring your right leg up in the air. Take the strap first to the widest part of your leg, kneecap pointing straight back, toes are pointing straight back, slight bend in the knee. So a slight bend is this, not this. You don't want your bending and unbending to be a lot. You want it to be straight, bent, straight, bent. The minute you take the bend into your leg, you're going to release the tension of the calf. So slight bend in the knee, kneecaps pointing backwards, toes are pointing backwards. I already feel this down into my glute area. I feel the translation because I'm pulling down on the strap. So my whole leg is receiving this. Let's take an exhale, then an inhale. Exhale to straighten, inhale to bend. Exhale, straighten, really pull strongly on the strap. Inhale, bend. Exhale, straighten. Inhale, bend. Exhale. Last one. Exhale to straighten, stay here. And then go ahead and bend. Do your flossing. I felt that all the way down into my right hip joint, which is my natural hip. My left hip is my hip replacement. Coming back to your center, you're going to stretch the ankle joint. So the kneecap points backwards, the toes point backwards. You're going to pull on the strap that's in the left hand first. That's going to be the most range of motion. As you bend your foot to the left, feel the stretch coming into the outer edge of your leg where your ankle joint is. And then you're going to bring yourself back up to center, pull the strap of the right hand. You're going to feel the stretch coming into the inner part of the leg, or maybe somewhere else. Go ahead, pull the opposite leg and opposite leg, or opposite strap, opposite side of the foot. Keep your ankle moving, keep your knee stationary. And see if you can feel this in your body. And then bring yourself back to neutral. Go ahead and take your strap off to the side. Bring your knees into your chest. I was doing a course on fascia, and fascia is the covering of everything, covering of individual muscle fibers, muscles to muscles, muscles to bones, the whole package, your whole bodysuit, right, with all this wrapping in there. And he was explaining how everything is connected. We don't just stretch a calf muscle. The calf muscle is attached to the Achilles tendon, which is attached to the plantar fascia. Up higher, it's attached to the hamstring, which is attached to the glutes, which is attached to the low back. So we are all connected. And that's why when you stretch one part of your body, you may feel that translation somewhere else.
And that's also why your upper back and neck tension may be because your feet or your ankles are too tight. So when we stretch our whole body glove globally, we actually allow for release, maybe somewhere we weren't thinking of, maybe somewhere higher up in this whole line of connection. Let's keep your feet on the ground. Let's take the right leg over the left leg, and you don't want any space. There's no space here. You want to push the leg so the back of the right thigh is touching the top of the left. Then you want to bring your hands behind your head, clasping your hands behind your head. So we're going to stretch our body in this position here. Let's do a little bit first to let your body go side to side. So don't go too big yet, and especially if you have low back issues. Feel the buttocks on the ground. Feel yourself rocking from one buttock to the next. One buttock to the next. So that you keep the stretch pretty low down in the hips, side body, and not so much in the low back. When you start to let your tushy go away from the ground, you're bringing rotation into the spine and you're stretching lower back muscles. And for those with low back issues, that could be something you need to be very aware of when you're doing it. All right, let's come back to neutral. We're going to slide our arms on our blanket. We're going to slide the right elbow up towards the wall. So try that before you do the bottom part of your body first. You're going to bend your upper torso laterally by sliding your right elbow on the ground towards the wall behind you. So you're not lifting it up off the ground. You're not trying to go too crazy here. It's a small movement, really stretching. Come back to neutral. Exhale. Inhale, let your legs go to the left and stretch your upper torso, letting your elbow go up towards the wall behind you. Exhale back to center. Inhale to stretch. Exhale back. Close your eyes and feel the stretch coming in wherever it's coming, making sure it's okay. This could either be isolated on the side of the body, or it may even go into the back of the body, so pay attention. And it's also going to go into the sacroiliac joint, right at the base of the spine, maybe. So pay attention. Next time you come to the right, stay there. Let your legs go to the left. Let that right elbow lift up towards the wall behind you. Push your belly button to your spine. Hopefully you feel a stretch in your outer hip, your right hip, the right center glute. Push your belly button to your spine if you feel it at all in your low back. And then you could add lifting your heart up towards the sky, but make sure that feels good all the way up and down your spine. That will go all the way up down to the low back. So make sure that's appropriate. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Take your legs apart. Let's take the left leg over. Make sure the back of the left leg is touching the top of the right thigh. And let's begin by doing a little bit to warm up the upper torso, lifting the left elbow up and back, sliding on your prop. If your head is too high here, you may need to put your blanket down a little bit or open it up so you can slide. Bring yourself back to center. Let's let the legs go by themselves to the right and back to center, closing your eyes to feel the safety of the left side receiving the twist. So twisting can be great because it opens up and stretches, and it can bring relief to low back, and it can also trigger a tension or holding response in the low back. So close your eyes and go tread lightly. Let's do the whole side. Exhale. Inhale. Legs to the right. Slide the left elbow up and then back to center. Inhale to open the left side. Exhale back to center. Inhale to open. Back to center. Inhale. One more. And then back to center. Bring your knees into your chest. Either knees into the chest, rocking side to side, or the deeper stretch of the happy baby. And bring yourself back to center. Let's bring ourselves onto our side. Hand is on the ground, leading with your shoulder, not your head. Push, push, push to come up. So we've done a lot of stretching. I'd like to do a little strength. Coming onto your blanket, you're going to need your block for this. Have your blanket a little bit lower on your mat. Take your block forward, forward, forward. So this is a power move to add into your life. It's a great way to keep core strength and front body strength. So coming forward, the elbows are on the ground, the forearms are on the ground, the hands are on the ground. The hands are pressing into the block. Let the lower legs be on the ground and lift your belly away from the ground. So this is the modification, and it can be very strong. And then if you do want a little bit more, you could slip your toes under, lift your legs up, and you're going to push your heels back. And if you find this is too slippery on a blanket, go ahead and put the lower shins down. Really press your feet into the ground so you feel that nice support of the back body, of the lower body, in the front of the lower, the hips. This is a lot of hip strength. Push your elbows, your forearms, your hands. Keep your head lifted. Don't let it hang. And then press your belly button to your spine. We're doing a minute. And then go ahead and bring yourself down. Be here in your Sphinx posture. Bring your pelvis onto your blanket. Take your legs pretty wide here. And then push away from the ground. Push your chest forward. Pull your ribs away from your pelvis. Feel the deep stretch in the belly. Breathe down to your belly. Let your belly be soft. And then bring your hands together. Bring yourself onto your head onto the back of the hands. Elbows are wide. Breathe down to your belly. This helps to release some low back tension. Take your right hand long, bend your left leg. See if you can get your left foot to come close to your tushy. Close to your tushy. And then reach back and see if you can hold on to your left foot, either the toes, the front of the foot, or where the ankle joint is. And if you cannot grab it, can you hold on to your pants, your socks, or your shorts? And try to pull the leg towards your tushy. This is a quadricep stretch, the front of the thigh. And then push the hip joint towards the ground. That'll deepen the stretch in the quadricep. Let your elbow be out to the side. You could bend your right hand here and rest the forehead on the back of the hand or the back of the wrist. Take one more breath. Take the left leg, bend the knee, slide the knee on the blanket so that you're in a figure 4 position. The top leg bone is coming straight off the body. The ankle joint is bent, and then push the front of the left hip towards the ground. Take one more breath. Bringing yourself back to neutral. We're going to do you could either let the left hand be long, or you could let the left hand be bent. Bend the right foot, bring the right foot as close as you can get it to your tushy. And then reach back and grab the top of the foot, where the toes, the front of the foot, the ankle, whatever. The pants, the socks. Push your front right hip towards the ground, and that'll deepen the stretch in the quadricep, the right quadricep, the front of the leg. Keep pushing the front of the right hip to the floor. Feel that stretch. Then we'll go into the inner hip, the sliding the right leg out, stretching the front of that right hip. Push the right hip towards the ground. Keeping your hips nice and limber can help to also for stress fracture aspects of falling and fracturing the hip area, the pelvic area, but also releasing from the stress and the tension of low back when the legs are a little bit more limber in their attachment. Take one more breath. Keep pushing that right hip towards the ground. Bringing your legs back to center. Take your legs, bend your legs, and do a little side to side. So it is time for Shavasana. And for some of you, if this feels actually therapeutic here, you could stay here and do a tummy Shavasana, breathing down to your belly for your Shavasana. Or you can come onto your side, bring yourself up, leading with your shoulder, not your head, and realign yourself so that you're in a traditional Shavasana with your body nice and long. So do whatever is appropriate for you. Notice how you're feeling. Notice if there's relaxation in your body. And wherever you are, whatever position you've chosen, allow yourself to settle. Like a snow globe when it's shaken. Letting all the particles settle. Let that be what happens in your body everywhere. Carry on, Dinamaya Kame, Gobinde Mukande, Udareya Pare, Carry on, Dinamaya Kame, Gobinde Mukande, Udareya Pare, Carry on, Dinamaya Kame, Govinde, Mukande, Udare, Pare, Hariam, Kariam, Nename, Kame. Gently begin to deepen your breath. Start to bring movement into your body. Feel your body. Notice where you feel tension or release. Notice how your body feels. Bending the knees, draw the knees into the chest. Rocking yourself side to side. And then rocking yourself onto your side. Leading with your shoulder pushing away from the ground to bring yourself up into a seated position that's comfortable for you. Bringing your hands together, closing your eyes, lengthening your spine. Feel that nice, long, tall spine. Bring your awareness to the back neck, nice, long back neck, slightly tucking the chin down towards the chest. And then actively push your hand into your chest to your hand. We're going to close with sound, the sound, vibrating and settling, allowing the last dust particles or the snow globe particles of you to settle. Let's take a big exhale to create room for your inhale. Inhale. Bowing in recognition of each other and in gratitude. Namaste. That's how I feel. That's what my answer to this would be. All right, let's see. How was that for you? All right, Martha. Oh, wow, Martha. Snowy and cold. I saw that you were here the other day, Martha, and I didn't get to say goodbye because I clicked exit, but nice to have you. Was anyone else's freezing? Michael, you're welcome. Let me see. Okay. Well, hopefully I came through loud and clear. Good, Joanne. Nice to hear that. You're welcome, Michael. Lovely. Oh, what a perfect word, Lynn. When I think of writing down what this practice is, that's what I'm going to call it. Lovely. That's just such an amazing word, lovely. For me, that just sounds so lovely. You're welcome. You see, I don't have glasses on, so am I squinting? It probably, yes. Good. Oh, Nancy, did I know you were here? Well, that would be great for you, Nancy, I would think. Although some of that twisty stuff, I wonder if that was okay for you. Yeah, that's great. All right, no freezing for Lauren. All right, maybe it's the snow, Martha. Hopefully you were able to capture this.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful Saturday. The summit that I'm in is on this whole weekend. So if you haven't had a chance to go look at it, you have a replay this entire weekend. So go to my website. The homepage has a big coral colored banner on the top. It says join the summit. Go there and join the summit and listen to the speakers, really amazing speakers. Twisty is good. Okay, great. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great day. Carpe diem. Bye.